We should try and get together before then so I can give you all your shit I've been carrying around.
And give you your shit that I've been carrying.
Guys, stop flinging shit at each other.
Yeah. Woo. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast.
Third Degree the Podcast is brought to you by Soccer90.com. Check out all the new World Cup stuff. U.S. men's national team jerseys, tees, scarves. 12 nations have been added to the collection, with more on the way. So get your stuff from there. Shop Soccer90.com today, and all listeners of this podcast get 20% off when you use the code Third Degree at checkout. 3RDDEGRE at checkout. Some exclusions may apply, but get that World Cup stuff. You know you want it.
Well, hello there, FC Dallas Curious fans. Welcome to another episode, I am told, written here in crayon, number 178 of Third Degree, the podcast. Hi, it is I, Peter. How are you doing? And via the miracle of the internet, your favorite recovering royalty, fan of royalty. I don't know how to say this, Dan. What is the best way to, what do you say if you were a subject? Your favorite English subject? Is that the proper way of saying it?
I guess, I mean, English is a subject at school. You could just really say anything.
Okay. Your favorite English man, Dan Crooke. Howdy, Dan.
What's going on?
You know, just kicking it. Old school. Okay, that went somewhere. All right. Well, we're zooming along here on the pod today. And your hero, my hero, everybody's hero, editor, founder, Third Degree, the amazing Buzz Carrick. Come in, Buzz.
Hi, Peter. Given your personal love of corgis, I'm surprised to find that you're not more of a royal fan than you are.
As I said last week, we applied for possession of her corgis, or some of them, or one of them, and we were rejected. And they ended up giving them to the controversial son who's caused all the problems with the Epstein guy.
There's a lot of, the Royals is not something I follow, but because it is a cultural moment, it keeps popping up all over, various people sharing it on Facebooks or Twitters or whatever. And there seems to be a whole lot of controversy going on with that group over, to me, it seemed like little bitty things, like somebody wore a short sleeve or something, and somebody didn't smile at the right time, or somebody else didn't cry at the right time, or wore the wrong color. I just can't even keep up with it at all. And it just seems like a lot of melodrama. It's almost like a daytime soap opera to me, Buzz, in a lot of ways.
Buzz, if I think I know you correctly, you are a fan of fantasy.
Yeah, like science fiction and fantasy, yes. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So, but science fiction fantasy is filled with all that kind of drama. I mean, literally what we are watching play out is essentially the 2022 version of Game of Thrones in some way. The really watered down, nonviolent version.
Well, yeah, I suppose, is it? That seems strong to me, but I suppose to some people, maybe it is their fantasy, their escapism, the royal family, I suppose.
I don't know. I feel like we're talking
it's
over
soccer, so it's plausible, right?
I mean, you are English, Dan. You should be able to tell us straight what's going on.
I don't know. Put it in the context, in the last 50 years, there was still the whole thing of, the royals, if they were born and, grew up and suddenly you realized they were left-handed, you tortured the shit out of them until they used their right hand.
I don't know what that means, but okay.
Well, I suppose
Queen Victoria was left-handed, but it wasn't proper, so... so us who use the devil's hand, it wasn't, we're not good enough.
Are you a lefty?
I am a lefty.
I am too.
Wow.
All three of us are left-handed?
No, I'm right-handed.
Oh,
no,
okay.
You suck.
Yeah, no, I'm normal. Y'all are weird.
Not in this pod. You're the odd man out, sir.
Yeah. I was going to say that maybe it's because we have an Englishman and because it's a pod about soccer, so I guess that's why the Royals will come up 2 weeks in a row, but it's not something I thought we would be talking about that much. Probably we'll talk about how I'm the only right-handed person in the podcast from now on.
That's the rest of the hour.
Yeah.
You guys want to drive Steve Davis off right off the bat?
Oh, kid talk right out the gate. Let's do it.
So today, I'm assuming the two of you know this, they announced that Ted Lasso is Richmond is being integrated into FIFA, the new FIFA game.
Yeah.
And in it, they showed game footage. And in it, they either unpurposely or accidentally revealed what the kits for Richmond are going to be in Season 3. And I'm not sure they shouldn't be the next FC Dallas kit, to be honest with you, minus the cheddar yellow socks.
Yeah, the yellow highlights and yellow socks make it an RSL kit.
Right.
Yeah.
But you
I mean,
could...
the red and blue are a little bit different for RSL. But
no,
definitely.
but yeah.
But I'm just saying, for a design with a red panel and a blue panel and white shorts and whatever socks you wanted to wear, that would be a pretty kick-ass FC Dallas getup.
Oh, it would be fantastic. I like quarters. That's a good pattern. Yeah.
We couldn't have the all orange away kit that they've got for Season 3, though.
No. Well, that's what they had in Season 2. Is that what they're going to have for Season 3, is the orange kit again for the away?
Yeah, it's one of the Nike teamwear templates, the collared one. All the kits all got leaked months ago when they were filming.
Okay. Well, I didn't know that. I just happened to see the game footage and nabbed a screenshot of it, and I thought that was pretty cool. So
one nice thing about if you're into the academy watching, because they play teams of other different color schemes all the time, they have to use a greater number of patterns than the first team does in terms of kits. So quite frequently, you'll see the academies wear the red top with white shorts and white socks, which is a really nice looking look, or even the white shorts and the colored socks from, depending on who they're playing. So some of the best combinations and some of the most unique combinations happen down the academy level, and it makes it fun for me. Who's a big kit nerd to enjoy that stuff.
Lucky kids.
Yeah.
We get stuck with the... What is next season's jersey that'll be switched out? The powder blue?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Hopefully they'll keep the powder blue in some capacity. I think it's a really nice change. It's not white all the time. You can have some white in it, that'd be fine. But like as a primary color, a main color for your away, the powder blue both has a Texans, Tornado connection and a Texas Rangers connection. So there's a vitality to it in terms of the local market. And it's a nice light color, and it's not white or yellow. So it's
if they went full in on the powder blue Tornado and adopted the orange accents, does that then become a problem?
Yes. No orange. I will draw the line of the Tornado Association with orange, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't think that they would go orange, but because of the other team in the state, but there certainly is a
that shall not be named
who do wear in the past, the teams that their names and their history comes from have had some powder blue and orange. But you can easily call that tornado color red and have it be red, most red, and the Rangers are red and the powder blue in all those scenarios. I think is a nice local nod for a secondary color that you need to have.
No, I completely agree. I just, if they were going to go full in for that one, like, iconic one with the two, like, hoops, it's like you have to either go for the orange or you kind of have to bite the bullet and say, hey, we're not doing an exact because fuck orange. I say that as a Luton fan. Jesus Christ.
I wouldn't want to go with that bar look anyway. That's Chicago's bit. So,
Well, only one is. I mean, that's like the West Ham, the double, like, thin hoops.
Well, I'm going to vote for Dan's HEB mock-up. That's the one I think, which was white. I'd be totally fine with that. I thought that was a very nice-looking secondary kit.
It's very good. I would take that in a heartbeat. I hope they keep powder blue, but the one Dan did is phenomenal. If that was what it was, I would be very pleased with that.
Maybe they could mix and match and make it a powder blue body with the darker blue sleeves and shorts.
There you go.
Yeah, all right. Somebody tell Steve Davis he can come back now. We're going to talk.
Welcome back, Steve.
I'll let him know that it's only 5 minutes of kit talk.
Okay, you could throw it in the description or whatever.
I'll put it in there.
Actually, in the timestamp.
In the timestamp. You can chapter it. There you go. Yeah. All right. Well, since we last talked, Dallas did travel to San Jose, ended up getting a result there, I guess is the best way to say it. And I don't know, guys. It's 1-1 in San Jose against a San Jose team that had won their last 2 home games, but is sitting close to the bottom of the table. You were missing some parts, including Jesus Ferreira, who wasn't feeling well. I guess I should just feel that getting a result on the road is the best thing and should be happy about that.
Yeah, it's not a particularly great performance as a team collective. for all those reasons you said, San Jose being halfway decent at home of late, a team that's guys are fighting for jobs,
it's not like San Jose threw out their best lineup either.
No, but, and Dallas didn't either, and it's late in the season, and there's pressure mounting, and, again, you're down a man because you got a red card partway through there. 1-1 on the road is a worse. There are definitely worse results that you can get there for sure. So, not inspired, but not the end of the world either, I don't think.
Dan, what was your overall takeaway from 1-1?
Well, funnily enough, you should say, because until you said 1-1 draw at San Jose, I forgot there was a 1-1 draw at San Jose. No, it was evidently not a memorable game.
No, it was absolutely one that we will not look back on and remember easily this time next year.
I mean, worryingly, the only thing that the thing that stuck out more than anything, other than Hideo Obrian scoring, wow, amazing. It's been a while. That's your top scorer pick for the season, Peter.
I know. I was feeling pretty good about it after 2 games.
Yeah, so, Drew Fisher's officiating was just bizarre. Just, I feel like he let way too much go, and then he'd get really nitpicky, and I think the red card was kind of was that all over. I don't know. It wasn't an enjoyable. It wasn't an enjoyable game to watch.
So you don't think Paul deserved the red?
No. When they showed the angle where it's kind of like they catch the thing, they do the quick catch. There's another angle that shows his hand was like a foot away from his head. He just kind of swats his hand away. I think if you're going to do that, you've got to punish the player that's got his hands all over him to begin with, as well.
I didn't see any replay where he doesn't make contact. I just saw him throw his arm back in kind of a retaliatory manner and and it appears that he hits the guy in the face or the neck or something. I'm thinking, okay, if he sees that on VAR, that's gonna get a red card.
It was weird to me because it was like, we talk about how, they Zapruder every clip, and they even showed it from the monitor, they went for the furthest camera of the angle, played it in full speed, and it was like, okay, that's it. When there were other angles available and other speeds available, it would have shown all he did was flick his hand away. He didn't make contact with his face. He didn't come near his face.
Well, he will be out for the next game, and I'm assuming it'll just be the one. It didn't look like it was anything so severe that they'll come back or Buzz, do you have any indication that it'll be more than one?
No, I don't think it will be. There was a lot of discussion about the severity of, the attack, if you will. The thing I thought was most interesting about the whole sequence is that they then called the foul way back like at midfield. And so I was thinking, if you've called that foul, then none of what happened after that matters. But a swing is still a swing, even if you don't contact. I can understand. I totally get what Dan's saying about he was pushing his arm away. But run a play, I thought, holy crap, did he just swing at him, or flick his elbow or flick his arm or whatever. So I didn't have too many complaints about it. This is one of those things where, to me, he was getting fouled and grabbed and clutched, and he got mad and kind of whatever back. When you whatever back, you're going to get busted, and you're going to get that red card. So
here's my theory. We've seen two kind of not kind of. The Holland's head one was a perfect tackle. We've seen 2 shit red cards in 2 weeks. I think that what they're trying to do is pitch to Howard Webb. Please stay. We need your help.
Yeah, they do need his help. Yeah. The biggest takeaway from me on that bit, which I thought was really funny, was that the minute they actually did the VAR and then they were like, okay, Paul, it is a red card, he beelined it for the locker room. And I joked that his nickname is now Paul. I'm not going to get fined for not leaving the field in time, Areola. Because Hollingshead did get fined for the one week before because he argued. Yeah.
I think it was just such a funny. If he stays around, he probably gets in a fight and picks up a ban.
Yeah, he might. It's just, at that point, there's a savviness to the Paul. At that point, he already was not savvy in that he swung out for whatever reason, and that's why you get the card. There is another savviness there. He's like, okay, I got to get out of here fast, and he does that. And so that's, to me, that's interesting. Anything like that, a change in behavior, where instead of being out there trying to plead a case, he's just like, okay, I'm done, and leaves. That's made me chuckle.
Well, getting to the game itself, one of the questions that I have about Nico is when he's faced with a situation where he doesn't have Jesus and he's forced to start Franco Jara. Buzz, do you think he's doing the right thing by sticking with the standard formation, the standard 4-3-3, and not switching to something that maybe better utilizes plays to Hara's strengths?
I personally think that Hara would be way better with 4-2-3-1, or more specifically, a player underneath him in that zone, because when you look at the average position maps, when they stay in the 4-3-3, Hara ends up being behind the two wings because he's so stagnant in the middle of the field. I think when he has a player underneath him, it pushes him higher, and he's not trying to fill the same Jesus role and come back. He stays high, and it works better. But this coach is particularly married to a 4-3-3 for whatever reasons. I think it has to do with how the wings play. And in this game, we've seen an increasing trend of the wings, particularly Velasco, who's out, obviously, but a continuing trend of the wings on this team coming inside underneath in a false kind of manner. And in particular, in this game on the left side, there was an adaptation in my mind, and I think that his average position bears this out, of Farfan trying to play a more traditional get to the end and cross role to try and take advantage of Hara. And I think Ima was supposed to probably also do the same thing, but Obrian runs around like a chicken with his head cut off on the other side and kind of gets in the way. So Farfan ended up with tied for the most key passes, and second in crosses, and number one in passes into the final third, because of this adaptation. So there's a recognition that someone needs to be under Hara. And so rather than changing shapes, it was basically Areola or Leggett or Paxton, or probably supposed to be Oberon, but he didn't do it, trying to fill that space and make it work the same way. So they were trying to accomplish that without actually changing formations. Whether it was successful or not I would say that it was not. So in the big picture, other than Farfan was excellent, and to me, what is a completely different role than normal for him.
Okay. I was going to say, do you think it was kind of by design to have Hara players that kind of hold up old school forward, where the wingers, or actually what seemed to be more the case, like you say, was Leggett and Paxton kind of getting forward, pinching in and filling in as the forward ahead of him?
That's what it looked like to me when I was watching. That's what I think. And I think, particularly the left wing was much more narrow than normal, because usually we don't see Farfan go to that end line and cross in a high volume, and he was doing that a whole lot. And he spent a whole lot of the game up in midfield, and his average position was higher than Ima, which never happens. Ima almost always has a higher average position than Farfan. I think that's a clear adaptation that they were attempting to do, and to take advantage of Hara's positive skills that he does have, which are not a lot, but it's that post-up game.
They're also catching Paul Marie out really high up the field, which I guess allows Farfan to kind of get some distance, and if you're going to go up that high, you may as well race to the end line.
Yeah.
So I guess the question I have, I guess I'm going to go back to this, is do you feel like Nico benefits himself by trying to force this, retaining this shape and being consistent tactically even when he's forced with personnel changes?
I think it's because he has a belief in this system, and that his players have a belief in the system, and by trying to make an adaptation, he changes less things. When you change out to a 4-2-3-1 and actually put a player in that zone, that eliminates a whole lot of activity in that area. Like, think about the way they play 4-3-3 with Jesus. Jesus comes to that area and checks out. Velasco comes to that area and checks out. Areola comes in there and checks out. Paxton, Leggett, all the players around them, those five front attacking players, all go into and out of that space. Mm-hmm. And that movement is what creates a lot of the chaos and allows them to do good things in the final third. So if you change that and just plant a guy in there, then all of a sudden none of that movement happens. Now, there's a guy that's there all the time, and theoretically you can do those same things, and Franco Jara does play better when that happens, but it changes the rest of the setup. So I think it's a question probably of it's this late in this season. I'd rather just stay with this way of playing because everybody else but Frank O'Hara knows how to do it really well, and this will change fewer things. And if I can just get Franco to understand to not try and play Jesus, just stay up there this time, and we'll get in there with other guys, then it'll work. I don't think it did 100%, but I do think Franco played a higher line than last time they tried this. I think he was better in terms of staying up there. St. Louis' center backs are not great, so he didn't take advantage of it as much as I would have liked him to. But again, on the road, it wasn't horrible. Dallas did not pass the ball particularly well. Overall, they were down under 80%, which is not great, but they had a little less possession than you would like at only 45%. But, the bottom line was the whole thing didn't work. So I think it's only in hindsight that it's fair to say, yeah, you should have changed the formation. But again, as you point out, Peter, I'm kind of waffling on this because I going in, I would have thought for sure, yeah, change it. Because when we've seen him not change it, it hasn't worked. So again, it didn't work.
All right. So what was because we probably should have started with some of this stuff. So Jesus's absence, at least for the majority of the game, was based on him being ill.
Yeah, he's sick. Yeah, I had heard about it in the morning, and what I heard was that he was out. Well, I think they meant he was out of the lineup. He was already on the road with the team, and you could tell by his performance when he came in that he's sick. He didn't have the energy, he didn't have the pop, he wasn't himself. At that point, though, when you're on the road and they obviously didn't have an extra player, you stick him on the end of the bench, and then it's not going the way you want, and there weren't really a lot of options available that I guess that made a lot of sense. He was the best. He and Kamungo were really the best attacking options on there. He didn't have a Benny. He had Cerveno on the bench, was not an attacking player, and Sebeling is only vaguely because he likes to dribble. I mean, Hedges, really those were the only two attacking players he had were Ferreira and Kamungo, unless you want to count Nanu. So it's unfortunate that he got sick like on the trip already when he got sick. I don't know what kind of sick he is. I just heard sick. So hopefully he obviously will be fine, I'm sure, to go to the national team.
All right, so San Jose wasn't particularly dangerous in this game, at least the way I recall it. But what I also never was quite clear on is, because I never saw a replay of it that I thought really showed the foul. What was the whole handball called for their PK in the 24th minute? I never did see a very good replay of it.
It's on Farfan. Yeah, actually, Farfan was my man of the match, but it's kind of one of those things where the ball's coming in and his arm's not in a good spot. He definitely is a handball. I mean, I didn't think there was any debate about it.
Okay.
So it came off.
Yeah.
Was it came off Tafare and hit him in the arm? Wasn't it?
I don't remember exactly who. There was 3 or 4 people in the mix. The bottom line was it hit Farfan's arm relatively away from his body. It's not like it was one of these things where you could go make a case. Like when I saw it on tape, it's like, yeah, that's definitely a handball.
It was definitely one of those ones it's tough for him to get his arm out the way at the time, but you're in the box, you have to be more careful. You have to know to keep your arms down there.
San Jose had a volume of shots, 19. That's a pretty high volume, but they only got 3 of them on goal. So that's a very acceptable.
Outside the box.
Yeah, too. Which is fine. Long range shots are fine. Pause is plenty good enough. It's just one of those long range shots bounced off a couple of people and got Farfan in the arm, and it happens. The bigger issue is the relative Achilles heel of this team, which, by the way, is a great defensive team. They've got a very low number of goals. They're one of the lowest in the 3 or 4 in the whole of MLS. But when they do get in trouble, it's almost always in PKs or fouls right outside the box. There was another time shortly after that, or shortly into the second half, where they gave up a really dangerous foul. I think it was Paxson, actually, who made a really dangerous foul right outside the box that they had a good scoring chance as well. That's those Achilles heels of giving up those 2 kinds of things are going to really cost you when you get to the time of year when big players step up. They're going to kill you with those free kicks right outside the box. That's something they're going to have to clean up.
Can we take a quick minute to have a conversation about the growing art of Paxton Pomacall's self-defense when he gets fouls called against him, especially his whole act that he puts on and what are you doing, and his facial expressions and everything. It's just it's pretty charming. I think it's a good part of his game, just like all the other stuff. I like how he's grown into that aspect of the game.
Yeah, he had a pretty good game. Most part, I lifted a little early. I think.
Yeah, why does he keep pulling him out of the game so early?
Well, I think my assumption is that it's related to big picture management of minutes, that he doesn't want to burn him out. He's been lifting all those skilled players. He lifts them all as early as he can, in order to try and keep them, because he knows the playoffs are what's going to matter. So I think that's
he can play 90 minutes against Tigres.
I doubt that'll happen. Yeah. I mean, well, let me look at the feed real quick. Who came in for him?
Ensebling.
It was Ensebling. Yeah. Again, that's pretty common. Ensebling plays that same linking spot and gets forward aggressively. I think that's just a minute management thing.
But why doesn't he take Leggett off?
Well, because Leggett scores goals.
He does?
Yeah.
Has he scored for Dallas yet?
No, but he's got much more than Paxton does over his career and this season. Paxton has 0 and Leggett's got 4 or 5, I think it is.
Okay.
So if you're chasing a game, you're trying to win it, you think you have a shot, right? Again, sometimes it's just about fresh legs. You look over at the bench, who do I have? Well, Siki is a better attacking presence than Brandon, and he's fresh, and I'm bringing him in. Okay, who do I bring off? Do I bring off Leggett or do I bring off Pomacall? Well, Leggett's the more attacking player, so I'll leave him on and replace Pomacall.
It would have been nice to have, kind of staggered the change with what's his name, with the Jesus sub, not have it as a double substitution, kind of give Paxton 5-10 minutes just to try and feed balls into Jesus before before you really change up the style of the attack and you bring in Siki as more of a runner.
Yeah, and later they go to Kamungo to try and get some fresh legs, and they even brought in Facundo for Edwin. I thought Edwin was having a perfectly fine game. You don't sub him because he's having a bad game. You sub him because, okay, I got a guy, he's fresh. Facundo is a relatively progressive passer. So, okay, let's try that. Let's bring him on and see if he can open somebody up. It's just you're trying things.
If Bernie struggles, you've got a bit of a safety blanket too.
A little coverage. Yeah.
Well, it was, look, getting a result on the road's always good, and Dallas certainly is in fine position to retain one of the home games. But with Paul's red card, it does complicate things because he'll at least miss one of the last 2 games. I'm assuming just one of them, but you don't want to lose Paul, and it means we've got now you've lost Paul and you've lost Velasco. Because my guess is Velasco's out until the playoffs. Have we heard any more about Allen's health situation?
No, the original was 3 to 4 weeks, so it'll either be he'll come back with 1 game left or none. One or the other.
So, all right, let's play this out. I guess we can automatically go to the next game. If you're missing Areola due to suspension and you're missing Velasco due to injury, but you're gonna, I'm assuming Jesus. No, Jesus will Jesus be back after international?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but are you going to play him after playing? I guess it depends on how much he plays for the United States.
You're chasing home games. You play him.
Yeah, it'll be. I mean, the international window ends on Monday, so it's not like he's going to have 5 days off before.
Okay.
It'll be relatively normal.
Okay, so you got Jesus playing up top. Who will, I guess, O'Brien on one side, and who would be the other winger?
Well, at this point, it'd probably be Bernie,
the new kid.
Yeah,
after the way he played in San Jose for those 20 minutes, yeah, absolutely.
He looked pretty bright. Does
he play
goals.
wing?
Yeah, he plays wing. That's his natural position.
Oh, I thought he was a straight up forward.
Striker. He's got whatever it is, 16, 17 goals from wing.
Okay.
And usually on the left, by the way, which fits in with where O'Brien. He can play both wings, but it's more often on the left than the right. Well, now that I think about it, that's actually not true. They changed it in North Texas a lot. He flip-flops sides, so he can do either one. The other options are Benny. Sure, that's okay. Khalil, who's so far out of it that when was the last time you saw that guy play? He's mostly been training as an 8, trying to find his way into the team.
Yeah.
I just at this point, with the way they signed Bernie and the way they instantly put him into the 18 and now have instantly put him into a game, it almost certainly to me says that he's going to start in 2 weeks. He'll probably go against Tigres, to get at least some minutes with the team. They won't want to go the full thing, but he'll get some minutes. maybe half, maybe 60. For the rhythm. And in his case, he needs the rhythm. He needs to work with the players. He needs to work with the team. So, I don't know really. I don't really see any other options over there. You can put Leggett on the wing. Leggett does play wing. He did play there in New England. He likes it underneath better. I think he works in that spot better. So that would be the other option would be, instead of Bernie, would be Leggett on the wing and then move Paxton back over to the free roll and then put back in Sebeling or Brandon Cervania as the linking 8. That's entirely plausible and a legit alternative as well. I just think changing less. I'm always in favor of changing only one position instead of two, right? So I'm for me, it's just sticking in Bernie and see what happens. But we'll see with this coach.
So I mean, so you think that that Benny's likely to get the start then?
No, Bernie, not Benny.
Benny. I was going to say it seemed like he's had 45 minutes against Nashville, but before that, I mean, he played 12 minutes total. So yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. Like Bernie, he's had the repetition. He's been playing for North Texas. Played the next day for North Texas.
Well, he looked more. He looked more dangerous in the 12 minutes he played the other night than I've seen from.
He nearly
Benny.
got that assist on Siki.
Yeah, he's a good player. They play the same system. He plays the same wing role, can play both sides. He's as I said, stylistically, he is a vertical style player like Obrian. But even in that 20 minutes, you saw he's more capable of tight ball control, more capable of a tic-tac kind of pass and go kind of movement. Remember, he's like 20 and has never had good coaching until like a year ago. He's played just high school ball.
Such a crazy story.
I know. So, I mean, his rise is remarkable. I think already he's the fourth choice wing after Obrian is third, obviously. So Kamungo is now, to me, already fourth, ahead of Benny, ahead of Khalil, ahead of all those guys.
Was the club ever successful in getting any of the local TV affiliates to come out and do a story on him when they signed him? Do you remember?
There were a couple of web stories. I don't remember if there was a TV story or not. I don't remember.
All right. Well, the Colorado game isn't until the 1st of October, and it's a Saturday afternoon game. They've wedged this Tigris game in the middle during the international break, which is a really weird, curious thing to do.
I think it's a great idea.
Just to get people time?
Yeah, this coach preaches hard the rhythm of play, and every coach that's ever coached here has talked about that. Like, to sit around for a week and a half and not play when you have like 2 weeks left in the season, you absolutely 100% want a game environment on the weekend. You give them a couple days off, you let everybody get kind of fresh, but you want the rhythm of the game on the weekend on the Saturday. Like if they hadn't done the Tigris friendly, they would have just done like a North Texas inter-squad thing or something, except North Texas has a playoff game, so they can't do that. So you had to find a game against a really good team because it's got to be high pace, high energy. It won't be dirty or anything. You're not going to get anybody hurt, but it's got to be something.
It's mutually beneficial. I mean, a lot of teams are playing Mexican teams this week between the crap midweek friendlies and the regular friendlies at the weekend. You've got their league. Last game comes immediately after the international break. Tigres especially, I think they had one player called up. That's a long time for players just to sit around and do nothing, to ramp up for their last game, and then the Liguilla tournament after that.
This probably isn't ultimately all that important, but I am curious to know what kind of turnout they get for that game, the Tigres game, on Saturday.
Tigres did advertise it to their Texan fans, so I mean, it could be a big one.
Yeah, so I guess
it could be an away game for FC Dallas.
Well, okay, that's exactly. I mean, it's a 5:00 kickoff, which is weird. It's going to be hot as balls. I know they probably didn't anticipate that. Nobody did, that it would be 95 degrees on a 5 p.m. on a late September day, but that's what they're predicting weather-wise. But that is a little. I mean, that is weird. It's easy to see a scenario where there are more Tigres fans in the stadium than there are Dallas fans.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, look at Dallas Cup every year at the Cotton Bowl. When the Tigres fans turn out, they turn out.
Yeah, this is a big market for Tigres. Dallas is,
Yeah.
All the Texases.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm sure it'll be a nice. I'll be interested to see what the attendance number ends up being.
Yeah, me too. I would expect, half of a game for the starters, like a full switch at halftime, or maybe shortly into the second half, maybe go 50 minutes, 55 minutes, something like that. They want to get him a run around, get him to kick around, get a high energy, get it going, but not,
Okay.
not a full 90. You'll probably be able to sub the whole team. I bet you.
The other big league news this week, which looked good for the club, was the 22 under 22 list was released, and number one on the list, really no surprise, was Jesus.
Yeah, no surprise at all. Even like the article I enjoyed the most was the one where they went around anonymously and asked a lot of technical people on the league like what they thought of it, and almost universally they were like, "Yeah, Jesus number one, of course. That's no question."
That's pretty remarkable, considering he is a legit grown up through the academy product.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, back-to-back years, honestly, of Pepe doing amazing things coming out of the academy and now Jesus doing it. I mean, we always knew Jesus was a good player, but he scored twice the amount of goals I was expecting him to. It's just a phenomenal performance on his part. And there's a maturity to his game, a focus to his game that has not existed before. He talked about his mental health this week in a story that came around. It's all terrific. Even just like the idea of like, yeah, I'd love to talk to a sports psychologist and get my mind right. I mean, that's some tremendous discipline and desire on his part to do great things. I can't, it's super exciting.
In your Discord, Buzz, by the way, if you're listening to this and you're not a member of Buzz's Patreon, you can subscribe for like $1 a month or whatever it is. And Buzz will give you access to his Discord, which is a great place for discussion about the team. And one of the conversations going around in there, Buzz, was the talk about, the likelihood of how long Jesus will stay here. It's probably a little early to have this conversation, but one of the things that came up was this idea that, there is a reality that Jesus, because he grew up in a family with a professional footballer as a dad, and the travel and how the family gets broken up by that, there is a scenario. Oh, let me also throw in, because he's making $2 million a year here. Yeah. There's a chance Jesus could stay here, even if he has a fantastic World Cup, unless somebody comes calling with some massive, massive deal.
Yeah, I think it'll take some similar kind of numbers to Pepe, at least in the same general neighborhood. Because as we talked about when Pepe left, how much you're getting paid is a part of that, right? Like when you go to a team and say, "Oh, we're only going to pay you $5 million because you only paid the kid $100,000," you obviously don't value him. Well, no, they clearly value him. His base is 1.3, so we've made him a DP. He's the focus of our franchise. He's the MVP of our franchise. He's in the discussion for MVP of the league. Okay, the Hunts just made a bunch of money with Pepe, and they made money with Tanner, and they made money with Brian Reynolds. Like, they've got plenty of money right this minute, and we're coming in recently. So like they're not going to sell Jesus for pittance. Even if he has a great World Cup, it's going to be like, okay, if you want this kid, you're going to have to pay, because it's really going to dismantle things if they lose a second straight striker for $20 million. It'll take something like that, because Jesus signed a 3-year deal. I think it's 3 off the top of my head. So that shows a willingness on his part to play that long here on that amount of money. Will he eventually have ambition to go overseas? Absolutely, 100%. He's already said he does. But he's also said that he wants to surpass the established legacy of his dad, and that means winning something here. So the kid's got something to prove, and I think there's a pretty good chance you're going to see, at least one more season, if not 2 more seasons out of him here, and that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, this will be one to watch, and it all will tie to his how he plays for the national team and the World Cup performance, and it's definitely going to be a fun story to keep an eye on.
Well, we said before that nobody scouts a player at the World Cup. They already know who he is, but what can change is his profile. If he does great things at the World Cup, it'll raise the awareness of him. It'll raise the value of him in terms of non-playing things. It'll make people more interested in him coming to their franchise. So you can more able to spend money on a guy if he does great things in the World Cup. So that's going to be a big bellwether for him. If he does great things, it's going to change the scene, change the landscape. So all eyes on the World Cup for Jesus, I guess.
Let's see. Velasco is number 7 on the list, and then I thought it was a sweet, Buzz, that you threw out there that it was really unfortunate for Edwin, who just missed being eligible for the list by like 1 week or something.
1 week, yeah. His birthday is like 10 days, week and a half too late to be eligible. Which is a bummer for him, because if you look, I'm not saying he's going to be in top 10 or anything, but if you looked down the list of 22 players, you get into the neighborhood of guys that aren't even full-time starters. And Edwin is now a full-time starter for a team that's 3rd in the Western Conference. He's, at the start of the year, was gangbusters, had a little bit of a flat part. He's now come back and won that job back and increased his level of play. And I think he's playing terrific soccer. I think he would have been in this list if he was 1 week younger. But he's not, so he's not. And Paxton Pomacle's not eligible either, in case anyone was curious about Paxton wasn't in there. But big picture, 4 dudes that are really close to being in that age bracket of excellent play is a really exciting core to have in your franchise. And you can even look beyond that core, and you have Brandon Cervania, and you have Che's on loan, and Dante Seeley's on loan, and Thomas is not playing. But, there's the continued joy for me of watching these academy guys become the core of your franchise and make lists like this. I mean, Dallas has had 4 players be number 1 on this list. Pepe last year, Fabian Castillo in 2015, and Breck Shea in 2011. So the continued overall presence of Dallas in this kind of thing, I get great enjoyment from.
And then the other thing that this is really disappointing to hear. I saw you note this, that North Texas is qualified for the playoffs in MLS Next, and they have a game coming up, but they don't have all their players because the playoff game is scheduled during when all these kids are out on national team duty. Yeah,
Antonio Carrera is the big miss. There's been a lot of games where that dude has stood on his head and kept them in games or won games for them when he's been on. Their other keeper, Felipe, who's this Brazilian kid, he's had a couple of good games, but for whatever reason this week he was missing. And so they started Julian Eystone, who's 16 years old, and the other keeper on the bench was another academy keeper. So if you're going to go into a playoff game with no Carrera and apparently no Felipe, your other 20-year-old keeper, Julian Eystone starting in a playoff game, I don't know, man. There might be, I don't know what you're going to do, but maybe send Jimmy down. I don't know. It's a playoff game, right? You can try and win it or not. I love that Eystone got a game. I don't know that I want Eystone to get a playoff game.
How did he play?
He was fine. I mean, he gave up 2 goals, but they got pretty dominated. Houston's pretty good, particularly at home. The goals didn't look harsh or anything. But, he's 15, 16 years old, whatever he is. And the other problem is that their best player, their leading scorer, Kamungo, probably is going to be with FC Dallas. He's probably going to be playing for FCD versus Tigres. And I don't know that he could then turn around and play for North Texas and be, fit or fresh or ready.
Right.
And so, and Mulatto, their big, cool striker from Colombia, who's a German, a Bayern Munich interest, right? They like him. That they've arranged for him to be here. He's with Colombia U20 team, so he's not available either. So you're looking at like,
why don't you throw the U19s out there?
I know, like your 2 biggest scorers are going to be gone probably. Your goalkeeper is going to be gone. It's like that's a tough uphill sledding you're going to have to do in that game.
That's right. Just put the first team out. Let the 19s take on Tigres. It'd be great for both.
Yeah. So good luck to him. I'm going to tune in. It'll be interesting.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to, I've been a fan of this club for a very long time, but I'll be the first to admit that my attention awareness level of North Texas is pretty low. But my just kind of outsider sense of that whole thing, since they swapped it from USL to MLS Next, is it's super janky and unstable. The league, like the new league they're playing in, and it's like, why would anybody be interested in that other than the young men and kids playing it and their families? I don't understand the fan attraction to what they've turned this thing into in the last 12 months.
Well, it remains the best soccer being played in Dallas, other than FC Dallas. It's still better than anything else out there. So while it's slightly worse than USL 1, it is still guys that were Former academy guys or current academy guys or current homegrowns or current GAs that are down there developing. These are guys that in the past would have walked in and started. You know what I mean? Like your number 3 overall pick GA would be starting day one for the Dallas Burn. There would be none of this go play somewhere else, right? So that team is pretty good and pretty entertaining if you'll go watch it, because it's better. It's way better than anything else in town. It's all exciting young guys. There's no Frank O'Hara running around out there. Everybody's a young, exciting player. So that's why it has value.
All right. Well,
I will admit there's some jankiness because some of the teams don't take it very seriously, and those are the teams that have 2 wins on the year. But the top 4 teams in the West, North Texas is going to play St. Louis City 2. They don't have an MLS team yet. So the dudes that they've signed in anticipation of that team are all playing for their next pro team.
Well, no,
so
I
that
get
team
that.
is really good.
No, I get it. But why would the league schedule a playoff game during an international window?
Oh, well, I know. What are they going to do? Sit around for a week and a half, not play? I don't know.
Sure. Yeah, maybe.
Well, they probably didn't anticipate having guys get national team call-ups. But the thing is all the youth national teams all got together too.
Yeah.
Which probably caught them off guard because they probably weren't anticipating missing all these youth national team players. And it wasn't just them. I'm sure if we went and looked at Houston or the top 4 are Tacoma Defiance, St. Louis, and Houston on the western side, they probably all are missing guys, just like Columbus in the east is probably missing guys. Everyone's probably missing guys. I don't know who St. Louis is missing. Might be somebody, but you combine it with their other keeper being hurt, and then apparently, I don't actually know that he's hurt. I just know that he wasn't there last week, and so I wonder if he's hurt. Sometimes it's tough to get information about that team, but
okay.
It's on the road, so you have to watch it. And I doubt it'll be the crappy stream because it's the playoff game. I'm sure it'll be a much better broadcast. I mean, I would make it so, but yeah, everybody tune in.
All right. I don't, this is going to be a short one, guys, because I don't know if there's anything. Is there anything else that we want to touch on or talk about, or?
The Academy started play. I don't really have anything notes on that other than they've started play. There's a couple of the guys that have been with North Texas all summer have gone back to their club teams. As I said, the Academy did a bunch of recruiting, and so far they're just wiping the floor with everybody they're playing. I'm seeing 9-1, 4-0, 5-0, 5-1, lots of scorelines like that. They're not playing other Academy teams yet. They're playing. Well, they played Sporting, and most of them wiped the floor with Sporting, Sporting is not as good an Academy, interestingly enough. I feel really good about the direction that's happening in the Academy right now. I'll tell you one thing that's kind of interesting. I had a conversation with Nico about the off season, and what he was going to be doing, and how he sort of had a focus on the first team this year, and then come the off season, he's going to broaden his umbrella a little bit and start to pay more attention and be more involved with your North Texas and with your academies, and even go down and work with the academy teams and try and implement the same, communicate to them, yes, this is the way we play, and we want you to play this way, and this is the way the first team plays, and we're going to do some drills that the first team does, and try and create even more of a feeling of uniformity along the way. I think that's kind of cool. So we'll start to see Nico, I'm paraphrasing all this, of course, start to see Nico sort of stick his fingers into other part of the pie and broaden his coverage of the whole club more than just he has been so far the first team. So that'll be fun watching over the winter as that goes on.
Very good. Daniel, would you like to throw anything in here?
Nah. I'm too afraid to break anything.
Okay. Buzz?
I got
Last
one more
call?
thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Andor is phenomenal.
Oh, okay. I've read. Okay, see, this is really weird. I've heard you say it's phenomenal, and I've read several people saying it's slow and boring as F. So I'll have to watch it for myself.
Well, it's not as slow and boring as the new Lord of the Rings thing, which is the slowest thing in the history of the world. Oh my God.
Beautiful to look at, slow as molasses going uphill in a January.
No, this is the Indy 500 compared to that.
I'm not sure House of Dragon's much faster, to be honest with you. So
it's quicker than Lord of the Rings, but Andor is. To me, I don't feel it's slow at all. I think it's right on a good pace. It's not a movie; it's a TV show. So it's got these long form TV shows they're not lickety split into the plot, and there's no Jedi doing 30 flips off of skyscrapers and laser swording an army to death, so
Okay.
it's got like a 80, 85 on Rotten Tomatoes or something. So I mean, it's got a pretty high. Man, I think it's phenomenal, but I'm a Star Wars dork, so what do you know?
Shocking news. Buzz
Shocking
Carrick
news.
is a Star Wars dork.
Well, you
self-proclaimed.
know me. Come on, I was born in 70, so like to me, Star Wars in 77 is like that was my I saw it 10 times in the theater, and I was like 7, 8 years old. That's the core foundational iconic social moment of my life is Star Wars in 77.
So Buzz, I'm going to tell you. I don't know if I've ever shared this odd factoid about me.
Yeah.
But I have shared this publicly, but I think I'm going to share it with you for the first time. I'm a 68.
Yeah.
And Star Wars was my third favorite movie of 1977.
Boy, there were some good movies that year. I'm well aware of that. Yeah.
My favorite movie of 1977 was Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
That's a good movie. Yep.
My second favorite movie was Wizards.
I've
which
seen
was
that.
the anime movie.
Yeah.
Or animated, not anime.
I've seen that.
Animated movie.
Yeah.
And then Star Wars. I was the one kid in school that thought Close Encounters was the better movie than Star Wars.
Well, Close Encounters is a phenomenal film.
And I got shoved in a locker for it more than once, trust me.
I went and saw it. My dad and I went and saw that one. I remember that.
Yeah.
That's a really good movie, too. Yeah. I had to cover my eyes at the part where they're outside the house and the little boy opens the door. I covered my eyes at that part. Granted, I was 7 or whatever.
Yeah. God, that's such a good shot too. It's such a beautiful
yeah.
shot. If you haven't seen it, it's been converted into 4K and all that, and it's beautiful. It's so amazing. Yes.
Yeah. That's Close Encounters is one of my favorite movies. I will grant you, it's way up there. It's just not. It's not foundationally core like Star Wars is. I know I'm a dork.
Well, that was deep into my heyday of my fascination with alien visitation, and Star Wars was fantasy. Alien, Close Encounters was like, man, when are they going to come visit me?
Yeah,
I want that to happen to me.
Do you remember the first movie you ever saw? Not to get sidetracked, I remember mine, and it wasn't either one of those. Do you remember what your first movie was?
Yeah.
Oh,
mine is Fantasia.
First movie I ever saw. That's a really good question. I'm sure if I thought about that long enough, I could tell you, but I don't remember off the top of my head what that would be.
Yeah, my parents took me to Fantasia. That's my first movie I ever saw.
Huh. Did they have movies back then in England, Dan?
Sorry, I fell asleep. What did you say?
Dan's not a Star Wars guy.
No.
We should write in that Steve Davis can skip minutes 2 through 7, and Dan just skipped minutes 48 through 51.
The Degree of the Podcast is brought to you by Soccer90.com. Check out all the new FIFA World Cup arrivals, including U.S. Men's National Team jersey, scarves, tees. 12 nations have been added to the World Cup selection, with more on the way. Shop Soccer90.com today. And as you know, all listeners of this podcast get 20% off with the code Third Degree. That's the number 3RD DEGREE at checkout. Some exclusions may apply.
All right. Well, very good. We will. Let's see. So I guess there's the thing on Saturday with Tigris and all of that, and we'll just kind of hope everybody stays healthy and just keep everything on an even keel as we get ready for the playoffs, because I haven't quite figured out yet who I want Dallas to play in the playoffs in round 1. I don't. Maybe we should save that for next week, since we won't have much to talk about.
No, let's definitely save that, because we'll have Tigris in the North Texas playoff game to talk about.
All right. Deal. It's a deal. Dan, thank you very much, my friend.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Thank you, Buzz.
Of course. Thank you.
And thank you, FC Dallas Curious Fan. We will speak to you next week and discuss maybe who we would like most to see Dallas play in the playoffs on the next edition of Third Degree, the podcast.
Sorry about Star Wars talk.
Woo! Woo! Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree Net Podcast. 25 long hard years, yeah. Buzz Carrick, yeah, the man. 25 years, you better be giving this man at least $5 a month, Patreon third degree. Come on, pay the man. It's the only comprehensive coverage of my fucking club that I love so much. Hey, come on, it's third degree or bust. Yes, give the man some money. Hey, third degree Net Podcast.